Hello and welcome to Platinum Politics. I'm your host Mace, and today we have a little bit more of a discussion rather than anything. Today's topic is just whether or not monarchism is good. Now, I didn't know that there was people in the 21st century that actually liked monarchy, but there is, because there's all types of people in Discord, and we allow all types of people into our Discord server. So, if you enjoy this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to come join the server and talk about this kind of stuff yourself, click that link down in the description. But for now, enjoy today's impromptu debate.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't become a thing where everybody's like jumping in, then yeah.
Yeah. If everyone starts jumping
100%.
in, then we will go into the other.
So the
stage
main
server,
the main debate is Wilhelm and who?
Hi.
Local
Wait,
Helldiver?
what are we debating?
Introduce yourself.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
What are we
support your local
debating?
Helldiver.
All right. So
Well, you ain't debating nothing. Him and me are debating monarchy.
yeah. So basically, I was just chilling in this VC, and we agreed to debate about monarchy and the benefits on pros and cons of monarchy, essentially. Mainly because he had a reputation of beating monarchs in arguments, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a couple of servers that I'm in where I have a reputation of beating monarchists in debates and watching them just kind of go complete crybaby. And you are literally the first monarchist I have run into who has not done that.
Basically, we've discussed this earlier, but we were about to have a debate, but then I had to go do some paperwork and stuff for my stuff in my life, because I do have a life. I do touch grass. Anyway.
Holy shit.
Really?
Okay. All jokes aside.
I'd say I
Jokes
touch
aside.
grass, but I literal professional paperweight, so...
Okay, jokes aside, you mentioned the longevity argument, and you said that it was actually a con because monarchy settles in for generations, and it's going to be hard to overthrow them. Is that correct?
Yeah, so one of, if not my biggest issues with monarchy is that it specifically is the longevity of it. There are good monarchs, just like before we started here, there are good dictators. They are very few and far between, though. In fact, I would say that a dictator is, in many ways, the modern version, like the modern take of a monarch. The example I would use for that would be like the Kim family in North Korea.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing, and that's really what the problem.
Because originally, the problem with me is that originally I thought dictatorships and monarchs were distinct because that's what most people say when they're referring to the two. And I thought the difference was a dictator often chooses their successor outside of their family, and it's usually someone from the party. But unfortunately, you just disproved the difference by pointing out the Kim family, which basically does do the heritage. So basically...
Sorry.
No, so
Didn't-
basically... sorry, do you want to say something, or should I...
I was just gonna say that I think there might be a bit of a delay here, but I just was gonna say that it's not uncommon. Well, I don't have a whole lot of examples on hand outside of North Korea. It's not uncommon for dictators to raise offspring with the intention of them being the replacement, and to put family in power. The China is a good example of that. Xi Jinping he's put his family in power all over the place.
No, I think the thing is that dictatorships in modern times have come down to two things. One, the quote-unquote, it's a democracy, or two, we're a monarchy in all but name, which is basically what Cromwell did as well. Except the difference between China and Cromwell is Cromwell was actually decent as a leader, and sure, he did some bad things like killing the Irish in Ireland and such. He overall did provide stability in an unstable country, which is how some dictators come to power, which is a problem, as you've rightly put it. The thing is, though, with England, the Parliament gave up and basically invited the king back as a constitutional monarchy, which means all ends well there. That's a example where a good ending happens. Most of the time it doesn't. So
and another thing too is with England, with Britain's case here, if we're looking at their current situation, while the monarch technically has authority, he is very much more just a social symbol more than anything.
Exactly. The thing is, the social system is failing. Anyway, so...
the social system is failing. That is definitely... Because one thing to acknowledge here is there is no such thing as a perfect government system. There will always be problems.
However,
what
I
I
think
look at.
Yeah, go on. You were going to say I interrupted you. My bad manners. I apologize.
You're good. You're good. Like I said, I think there might be a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
My thing when it comes to government systems is we can't problem proof it, so I want the ability to remove any problems that can't be patched.
I understand.
Now, one of the things that I have come to, because this was when we were talking last night, I had made this admittedly bold claim. I said that monarchy, the way that I prefer to word this, and the way that I'll word it here, I like to refer to monarchy as proto-socialism. It's
All right.
not socialism, but it is built off of a lot of similar things.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because through my studies of the history of monarchy and whatnot, specifically for debating monarchists, I have come to this conclusion that humans are not creative. We regurgitate and reuse the same stupid things. So the same sort of authoritarian bullcrap that worked 1,000 years ago is going to work today. And so when people like Marx and and other socialists and whatnot came along, they reused a lot of the same ideas that worked back then. And if you look at kind of how monarchy came to be after the fall of the Roman Empire, you can kind of see similar things of how these things came to be. It's just regurgitating the same ideas, the same context. So I've kind of started looking at these things more in the context of, instead of like, oh, right or left or traditional or progressive or whatnot, I've started to look at things more from the standpoint of authoritarian and not authoritarian. I don't want to say libertarian per se, but just
I understand what you're saying.
I've started to completely drop the idea of left and right and all that stuff. It's authoritarian and not authoritarian.
Okay.
And
to that,
when
can I say
go ahead.
something now, because you've been going on for a
Yeah,
long time.
I've gone on for a minute, so yeah.
Yeah, I was just being respectful and waiting my turn, to be honest. To the audience, it may seem like that I'm agreeing with most of the points, because I agree that some of these points are indefensible. But the thing is, when you're looking at monarchy, is yes, they have been good and bad monarchs, but the ratio of good to bad monarchs is more even, more closer than it is with dictatorships, in my opinion. And what do you call it? Right.
I have a question though. I have a question though.
Go on.
As you guys have said, okay, I never liked authoritarianism to begin with. Well, ever since I learned exactly what it is. But is it? Am I right or wrong for not trusting monarchy either?
No, that's your opinion. I respect
It's your opinion.
people who don't trust.
From a logical standpoint, like power. I'm pretty sure power in a monarchy can easily be as corrupted as it can in authority.
Your fears are acknowledged and respected. That's like the one con of monarchy. It's that how it can easily be corrupted, easily used by bad actors.
Well, that's kind of the stance that I'm making here. Is like, it's in many ways it is just authoritarianism.
The problem is sorry, I was going to make my point that basically my case study for monarchy is the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and it's basically the argument against democracy and how democracy can fail in the sense, and why absolute monarchy was needed. Have you heard of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth? If not, I'll explain.
I haven't, but before you do, I'm going to lay something out here that I don't know if you're fully expecting this. I am not in favor of democracy either.
Yeah, no, you mentioned this, and you are in favor of the U.S. system, which I also like.
No, I can relate to that. I can relate to that support because
Can someone explain to me what's the difference between democracy and the republic? Because that's something I genuinely don't know.
Okay, so a democracy is, in political functionality, essentially mob rule. It is based around popular vote, and it tends to be whoever can manipulate the popular vote, whoever can manipulate the majority to vote in their favor gets control. A republic is a representative voting system that has some form of strict limitation. For example, the US is a constitutional republic. We have the Constitution, which lays out what is and is not allowed in this country. It is basically the rules the government has to follow. For example, you cannot ban the right to bear arms. You cannot ban the right to speak freely, things like that.
Okay.
There is another thing that I didn't mention last time we talked that is important. Not everybody gets to vote in a republic. Voting is not a right in a republic. Unlike a democracy where voting oftentimes is seen as a right, in a republic, voting is a privilege that needs to be earned in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, right.
In democracy, you need to be 18 to vote.
In democracy, you are given the voting is seen as a right. Well, in a republic, you need to have skin in the game. You're not allowed to vote if you have not earned that.
Sorry.
that
Yeah, like my country is using the is using
I
democracy.
would like to point out this is supposed to be more of a debate between me and Wilhelm.
We were going on track on what a democracy versus republic is, and I'll concede something that you may be surprised, but I actually like the U.S. system. Like everything about it, checks and balances, its systems. You get the idea. The right to bear arms, the Constitution. I like a lot of things about it. It's just that implementing a U.S. style thing is going to be difficult in, like, say, a European country. But doesn't just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible. But since I am a monarchist first, I will debate things from a monarchist perspective, not a Republican perspective, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I will say here, I do disagree with it being. It might be hard to implement due to the current structures in place. But the American constitutional republic is heavily based around old English common law. So I don't think it would actually be that hard to implement.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, back to where I was saying. So to give you a bit of history, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was this powerhouse. I will share my screen for a moment.
Alrighty.
Give me a moment. Because basically, this is kind of important for my point. Sorry if I'm not talking right now, but I'm focused on this. Okay, right. I got it up just now. Let me share my screen. There we go. So you see this, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, right?
Give me just a moment to hop into this.
All right, tell me when you have seen it. You see it?
Not yet. No, it's still loading.
Okay.
Give me just a moment.
Yeah. Okay. While you are loading, basically the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was a dual monarchy of Poland and Lithuania, but its system was fairly democratic, where the nobles could vote, and it had a constitution as well, right? I think.
It's loaded up, by the way. I can see it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see the territory here, right? It looks pretty powerful. And it's not an absolute monarchy or a feudal I think it is a feudal monarchy, but I'm not. But basically, the nobles could vote, right? And yes, First Polish Republic, right? And as you can see, the Union established the Commonwealth on the 5th July 1569. I'm sorry that I'm stumbling, but you know what I'm saying. Good. And it was pretty powerful. It actually conquered Moscow several times, and it also. Then you can see here partitions. So you may be wondering what the hell happened with the partitions, or what led to the partitions. Right? And you see, what happened was that there was this single thing called the Liberum Veto, which basically means during a parliament debate in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, if a noble says no to a single noble could say no to anything, and all of the things passed in that one debate will be cancelled, like outright.
Okay.
And it's a pretty flawed system, as you can tell, because you see, Prussia, Russia, and Austria basically used it to exploit and weaken Poland. And then this led to the partitions when the Poles actually tried to write a better constitution. So,
I mean, if you can literally stop an entire system like that just by having one dingus say no, yeah, that's a pretty big problem.
Exactly. Now, just because it was a bad system doesn't mean it was It's amazing how it became a great power for some time, because it was actually richer than England and more stronger than Spain at the time. So it's amazing that despite the Liberum Veto, it did become a great power. But unfortunately, Poland's history is fraught with many tragedies and problems, and thus the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth died right there and there. It was briefly restored under Napoleon, which is a good monarch in my opinion, even though he did some bad things. He did revolutionize Europe by basically going around and spreading nationalism, which actually did lead to some formations of democracies today and some republics as well. But I'm pretty sure Europe leans more to democracy than republicanism. And,
in this day and age, they do seem to, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, one thing I will say is, if I was a king, I would actually provide a First and Second Amendment, because I actually like those things a lot. Like,
well, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it an old English law that you had to own? You didn't just have the right to own a weapon, but you had to own a weapon.
I don't know, but
I believe that was an old English law, like going back to like the medieval era, where you
if that's the case,
had to own a weapon.
If that's the case, England went so back. I'd say England regressed then, because
well, the reason they did that was because this was the medieval era, and if you were going to have a war, guess how you were building a military? You were grabbing all the serfs and saying, "Congratulations, you're fighting for king and country. You better have a sword."
That's called a levy. But that's actually
we call that a draft today.
Yeah, obviously. However, something I'd like to ask is, when you debate monarchists previously, do you kind of monarchy do they believe? Do they believe in constitutional, absolute, or feudal?
Absolute.
Same here.
They've pretty much always gone for absolute monarchy.
Yeah, because I think believing in feudal monarchy is a bit stupid in this day and age when corporations are already powerful as is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
well, actually, now this is kind of getting into a bit more of a gray area from my knowledge of monarchy. But from what I remember, the monarchies of Europe that formed after the fall of the Roman Empire specifically came because people started going to the rich and wealthy and paying them for protection.
All right.
So not only do I think that, I'm not saying it would be good, but not only do I think feudal monarchy would be possible in this day and age, I actually think it's a likely outcome with the direction the ways are going with mega corporations and the way that they're trying to grab power.
Oh yeah, no, I hate.
So I actually think that if we don't I think if we don't stop and look at the megacorps and say, "Hey, I don't want to live in cyberpunk," we'll actually end up with a modernized version of feudal monarchy.
And I don't think that's a great idea, to be honest. Like, here's the thing with. Yeah, exactly. I think we both, as a monarch and you as a republican, can both agree that feudal monarchies are pretty bad, at least a modernized version. Because let me actually put
it was
like
bad
this.
back then too. It's just always
exactly.
bad.
No. Let me explain how much worse. I'd argue it would be significantly worse in the modern day and age than it was back then. Because, yeah, sure, I'll use the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth as an example, right? The Liberum Veto basically shows how power-hungry nobles can get when they're bribed by foreign actors, right? In fact,
now give them the ability to spy on you in your own home.
Yeah, exactly. And now give them modern guns, more intelligent, more power, and congratulations, you ended up with a mega corporation that's also a feudal monarchy. And I think that's significantly worse than an absolute monarchy for the following reasons. Like, Saudi Arabia is obviously a modern day absolute monarchy, and that's one example. And I'm not really too sure on what the Saudi Arabians are doing, but I heard that they aren't living the best of lives, I believe. But
most Middle Eastern
They're
countries are
multi-millionaires, so I think they're living pretty good lives.
Okay,
multi-millionaire does not mean good life. Multi-millionaire just means rich.
Yeah, no,
yeah, but like
basically,
you don't have to worry for anything.
No, as I was saying,
I don't even
Saudi
know.
Arabia is a
Thinking
good
that-
example of a modern day surviving monarchy because while its people may not live the best of lives, it is a stable country and it is securing alliances in the world stage despite being a monarchy. So,
The Saudi I don't think the Saudi Arabians live a bad life. That's what I'm saying.
Who's talking right now? Because I want to ask if
it's
you're going to
local Shirel.
Yeah, I was going to ask because I heard you were about to start a counterpoint, and I was wondering if that was directed to me or to him.
Wait, what do you say? Say that again, please.
Oh, me?
Like I didn't hear. So.
Oh yeah, I was basically asking if Local Helldiver was directing a counterpoint to me or to you because you asked the question.
I was going to counter one towards you. It's just or not really a counterpoint so much as bring something up because I think when it comes to like the ideas of like feudal monarchies and shit like that, we do seem to agree
basically I made the distinction between multimillionaires and ordinary civilians because, and I'll admit my knowledge here is a bit lackluster on Saudi Arabia because
it's a Middle Eastern country. I'm not the most versed on it, but I know that they're rich, but they are rich because they play scumbag games when it comes to their economy. They're not actually a great place to be living.
What I said is that I was the one who said that they are multi-millionaires and that they don't live the worst of lives. That's
but anyways. So
anyway, another argument besides the Commonwealth argument I was going to make is basically it's linked to the longevity argument, but in a different sense. So let me put it like this: imagine a modern monarchy, if you will, just as a thought experiment, right? Like they are a basic country in a basic place, and what they have is good healthcare because modern sciences have got to us to that level. They got a good economy, and because they got a foundational base and some other systems, right? So obviously they got the abilities, right? And the monarch, knowing that he's responsible for the nation, basically teaches his son how to be a good monarch, which is where the my next argument comes into play is that basically monarchies can actually groom their children into being good monarchs. And I'm not sure what you would say about this one because I'm pretty sure you might counter it with the same longevity argument or how like easily it is able to be corrupted or something, but
I'm going to not just counter it with that, but I'm going to counter it with a historically provable, reoccurring theme, so to speak.
okay, go on.
Yes,
I'm curious.
I am aware of the benefit of the monarch is able to raise up their offspring to try and uphold the same things. The problem is, well, long story short, it's the game of telephone. You've probably heard this saying before. The game of telephone is when the game of telephone is a concept where an idea kind of gets corrupted over time. Like, so for example, if I say I like cheese, if you pass it along enough people, the last person, instead of saying I like cheese, will say something about how like cheese is the superior food or something like that. That's kind of the thing. You've probably heard this saying. This is a historically proven fact. Bad times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weaker men. Weaker men make basically bad men, and then bad times, and then bad men.
Yeah, I heard that saying.
The thing is, this also applies to the monarch. Yeah, first good, and this is a reoccurring theme with monarchs. Yeah, you end up with a good monarch, and then he raises his kid, and his kid's an okay monarch. He's a decent monarch, and then his kid is and then his kid blows his money or is a total dictator and builds everything around making himself wealthy. And the problem there, and this is where things really get complicated, is once you get to the bad monarch, it can take 2 or 3 monarchs before you get a good monarch. Because at that point, once you get the bad monarch, his end goal is basically just self-pleasure, doing what he wants, and that's going to carry on to his kids. And you just have to hope that you eventually get a monarch that's got some form of a soul. And the thing is, that's several generations of a ruler who is in there for a lifetime. So if we look at this in modern standards,
I'll concede your point there actually as well.
Yeah. And so that's why I look at it like, okay, and to show a counterpoint with, the American system, for example, we had Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a terrible president. We got rid of him in 4 years. We can get rid of terrible leaders who, in a monarchical system, we'd be stuck with for life. We can throw them out. Because here's the thing, the whole stability argument, I'm not saying that's wrong, but I look at it and I go, stability at what cost? Because America, until like the past 20 years, we've actually been a really stable and powerful country. Like, we as a nation dwarf.
In fact, I'd argue, I'd argue America actually had best history, but that's a topic for another time.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
in a sense, they were very lucky because they could have had things gone south in numerous occasions. They didn't.
A lot of historians have looked at America and said, this is the odd one out of history. This is the one that, for some reason, at every turn where history said they should have gone south, we have not gone south.
Actually, it
is one of the many things. It's one of the many things where if you want proof that there might be a god, look at how America has managed to survive things that would have destroyed other countries.
No, another thing is
to kind of get back. That's fine, because I just want to finish cooking this point, but I'll let you finish your thing.
No, you go first. I was interrupting and my bad manners spoke again.
You're good. Like with the stability argument, like I said, I look at it like stability at what cost, and I also look at, again, something like the American system, and I look at it and I go, we are very stable. In fact, as you just said, we are so stable that there were so many areas we could have gone south, and by all historical records, we should have gone south, and we didn't. So it really kind of comes down to, okay, is a monarchy actually the best way to instill stability, and what kind of stability is it really bringing? Because at the end of the day, it's more bringing stability of the monarchy, not stability of the nation. Because in a lot of times, a monarchical system, it's looked at, if the monarchy is stable, then the country is stable. But
sorry. I was going to say, to be fair, you're correct that if the monarchy is stable, the country is stable. But that's mostly because of how monarchy monarchies work, because if a monarchy has a clear line of heir and and it's stable
Mhm.
because there's a clear heir and such, and
Mhm.
therefore the country is stable because that's what tend to happen. But as you noted, the telephone game also can happen. But
Yeah.
and as
And
you
sorry.
yeah, and I was gonna say, and yes, you can have bad monarch as well, and they do tend to get like what's it called, bad things. But here's the question. Here's my counterpoint to the bad monarch argument, which is what tends to happen immediately when a monarch does bad things, like King John, for example. Have you heard of him?
I think so, but jog my memory. I'm not
Okay,
super...
so King John was basically a very terrible English monarch, right?
Mhm.
And what happened was he basically tried to get all the money for himself and restrict the rights of the nobles. And this is in a feudal monarchy, by the way. And obviously the nobles didn't like this stuff, and so they basically mobbed up and beat him in castle, right? Basically, King John played stupid games and won stupid prizes, except he tried again and he died as well. And the Magna Carta basically set the foundations for the English Parliament and such.
Yeah, so this is the guy that ended up leading up to the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
That I see where you're coming from. I'm actually going to use your own argument against you. Because notice how when you get a bad monarch, what needs to happen to fix it is some form of a basically uprising, whether it be within the nobility or even a straight up civil war. That is not the way you want to be fixing those problems. That risks destroying that stability, that risks plunging your nation into chaos and bloodshed that is unnecessary. That's not a good way to solve that problem. It is preferable to... Because this kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, okay, what stability at what cost and what kind of stability? Stability of the monarchy can...
Yeah, because you are going to the stability of the monarchy thing. And, I don't really want to repeat your points because, we've heard it before and I understand where you're coming from, if you get what I'm saying.
Well,
however,
I'm going to make a little bit of a different thing. I'm going to clarify something that I was getting at.
Go on. Sure, go on.
So
Sorry,
this is what I was... You're fine. This is what I'm getting at. So yeah, stability of the monarchy can come at the cost of stability of the nation. I value the stability of the nation over the stability of its leader class.
Okay, so to address your point about how you use my argument against myself, the thing I was trying to point out is that karma exists, right? And sure, rebellions and stuff need to be taken out of monarchs and stuff, but at the same time, corrupt democracies and I'm not sure about corrupt republics, actually. That's probably a topic I need to research for another time, but corrupt democracies exist as well, and unfortunately, no system is perfect, and sometimes you do need armed rebellions for other systems as well, not just monarchy. So, unfortunate. In fact, I'd argue that Britain probably needs an armed revolt more than, say, probably the Americans.
Political
because
reform,
what's it called? No.
America's in a situation where, like, we're actually in a position where we can and are fixing our problems without an armed revolt.
Yeah, no.
Britain's actually being overrun.
No. In terms of the Britain argument, basically, Keir Starmer, and I'm not even going to bother calling him sir because he is a twat. I'm sorry, but he doesn't deserve the title of sir because I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'd argue King John was better than Keir Starmer. I'm sorry.
Keir Starmer deserves the title of shit ass.
I agree. Okay. Now, to make my point. No,
okay, I'm back. What the hell just happened?
I'm sorry.
I love how we call them twat.
Sorry.
We have agreed that Keir Starmer is deserving of the title of shit ass.
Yeah. Basically, shit ass Keir Starmer.
Okay.
And I'd argue Britain needs an armed revolt because, firstly, he's basically saying anything could be hate speech. Like, a lot of people were basically arrested for anti-migrant sentiment over on X, and not only that, but he's also established a thought police, like a literal thought police. And not only that, there was also a common. Sorry, did I get a ping somewhere? Never mind. Anyway,
I know what you're talking about, like the fucking special, like the fucking special law enforcement for this stupid that stupid internet bill, just like, and you got a license for that, meme.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And also, they're also arresting people for self-defense. Which is even more ludicrous.
I remember when they banned knives in Britain, and one of the things that they confiscated when they arrested somebody was a butter knife and a spoon. It's that level of bad.
Yeah, I know.
You got a license for that spoon? You got a license for that spoon?
I know I know the argument was supposed to be about monarchy, but can we just agree that Keir Starmer is worse than King John? Because at least King John knew he was in danger and built Kenilworth Castle. And he did give his generals a shot at waging war against the nobles. And he did actually try to seek a practical alliance with Islam. So I'm pretty sure that King John is better than Keir Starmer.
Was he arresting people for posting memes and owning spoons? Because if he wasn't, then I can agree that
No.
Keir Starmer is worse.
In fact, King John was nicknamed Soft Sword, and he didn't kill people for making fun of him. Try.
then yeah, no, we can agree. Keir Starmer is worse.
Okay, sorry.
But,
let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to calm down.
I do want to clarify something here.
Yeah.
Every form of government can and does end up becoming corrupt at some point. With you can kind of look at the sort of government system in place, and you can kind of predict how it'll be corrupt based on the system.
Yeah.
For a democracy, it's always going to be people who manipulate the system for their own selfish advantage. With a monarchy, it's always going to be
a selfish.
Essentially, it becomes a dictatorship. Essentially,
Yeah.
A dictatorship's already corrupt. In the case of a republic, normally what ends up happening, and this is what's going on in the U.S., this is what we're trying to fight right now, and I believe we're actually
Is it against
managing
Trump?
to pull this off.
Is it against Trump? I ask.
No, no, Trump, I believe, is the guy who's actually doing stuff that's kind of steering us away.
Because I
from
don't
this.
actually know what's going on in the U.S. Because from my point of view,
now, the big thing that Trump has done is he has cut a lot of these unelected, corrupt organizations that are part of the government, and that's that's where republics start to become corrupt. And you kind of see the same thing with the Roman Republic too. They start to become overly bureaucratic. They stop being republics and they just become giant jumbled up messes of bureaucracy. And eventually that will either that will start to crumble, and it will either result in somebody rising up to overthrow it and install themselves as some form of authoritarian leader, or the bureaucracy itself will put its own authoritarian leader into power, because it'll just overcomplicate the system with impossible to deal with amounts of bureaucracy, and it normally will end up starting to devolve in a lot of infighting, a lot of breakdown of social trust and whatnot, until eventually the Roman Republic becomes the Roman Empire. You learned your politics from Star Wars and not
I
Dune?
learned a little. No, I learned a little. Well, I learned a little of about it from Star Wars. I haven't watched Dune, but there's a certain part of the Galactic Republic that I like when and they should have used this crap on Palpatine too. But like, if the majority of Senate decides that the Chancellor is unfit for duty, they can vote to kick his ass out of office.
I'd call it a vote of no confidence.
Yeah, no, the problem with something like that is that every time you get a Senate that is even just split 50-50, the entirety of their term is just going to be trying to kick out the leader. That's what's going on right now. The Democrats with Trump have been trying to kick him out the whole damn time until they just gave up.
You know what's funny?
If it became just a majority vote thing, we'd be on our third president already in this term alone.
No, I was going to say, in the UK, it's the same thing here, except it's us, the people, versus government. Because the government at this point is so corrupt and so vile and so evil and so terrible that basically, I would actually consider fighting the Met, but for obvious reasons, I cannot say that and condone violence. But I'll be real, I think the UK needs a revolution. I ain't going to lie.
I'm not even surprised you said that, considering what I've seen.
Yeah, it's a mess over there right now.
Yeah, in fact, I'd welcome Trump to colonize us. I'd welcome Trump to make us the 51st state. There's that.
You're probably gonna end up being like the 54th if Canada goes through with what they're doing.
Hey, Wilhelm, how's the censorship?
Oh, censorship. It's lovely. I can't see shit.
I opened up the internet and I set my VPN to Britain and I opened up the interwebs and it was just a big giant black bar, and I still got in trouble with the British government.
Okay, all jokes aside, I think we should actually take this moment to let the audience ask any questions. So,
okay. So I was gonna ask. You know, that form of the Galactic Republic. Does that work? Would that work for a long term?
No, like I just said, you would in any situation where if you did not have To use the U.S. Senate as an example, if we were to apply a system like that to the U.S. Senate, any situation where one party did not have 3/4 control of the Senate, it would just turn a president's entire term into the Senate trying to kick him out. Right? Like I said, we're already seeing that with Trump's second term. The first thing the Democrats tried to do is impeach him. That's what they tried to do with a system in place where you have to actually prove they did something illegal and get the rest of the Senate to agree on it. They still tried to do it. If it was just a majority vote thing, they would have kicked him out by now. They would have kicked his vice president out. They would have kicked the Speaker of the House out. I don't know who would take his president's place after that.
Okay.
So if that's the case, I guess. I mean, it just depends on how it works, I guess, or something. Yeah.
If you're gonna have something like that, you need to have the ability to prove that the president or the figurehead leader in that same position has actually done something worth removing them. That's why we have the impeachment system in our constitutional republic.
Okay. So any other questions? Any other questions from the audience? Oh, definitely silent.
Actually, I'll do my admin if you guys are okay with it.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead. If you have a question.
I wasn't actually expecting that to actually come through. So I was sitting here kind of like just pressing buttons. I didn't think I hit the button right. I was going to kind of swap it up a little bit. I'm talking about politics as far as like U.S. and Great Britain and stuff like that. But I want to kind of divulge it. It still kind of encompasses politics in the form of like gaming, because I'm gaming right now. And we're on Discord, primarily gaming platform, or at least people communicate through gaming. And I want to say, like, what are you guys' takes on politics from not just on the West, but also from the other side of the aisle, as far as their influences on gaming and how it's going to shape the next generation of gamers for the next generation of people coming into the market?
Games need to remember how to be apolitical.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Gaming works.
I think Fallout New Vegas was a perfect example of an apolitical game that handled
Helldivers.
Helldivers, yeah, that's a good one too. A satirical take, but
Helldivers is specifically made to be a criticism of like war on terror era politics, but it does so in an apolitical manner where you can just ignore that. It's not that deep. I think the problem is, and I didn't mean to interrupt you here, but so I'll let you finish.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fallout New Vegas is a perfect example. Like, it's got anarcho-capitalism, I think, fascism as well from the Caesar's Legion, and even democracy/republicanism, because I'm not actually sure how the NCR government works. But New Vegas is in a good way, because you can choose whatever faction you believe in, and there is consequences for the Mojave depending on the faction, which is what a good way of an apolitical game to show. In fact, you can
Dying Light 2 also does that.
Well, and another thing too, and I'm saying this as a conservative who tends to be more right-leaning in my ideas. This concept of the woke right that is starting to come around is very much a thing, and I think what's going on right now, we could easily see the same thing coming from that we saw from the far left for the past decade. So video games really need to learn to just be apolitical again. If they do want to explore politics, that's fine, but they need to learn it in a way that's not shoved in your face.
Yeah. I also wish for the culture wars to end, to be honest. Like, putting my ideology aside, absolute monarchy. Like, I'm not sure what it takes, but I don't think monarchy is actually the answer to the culture wars, because I think it would take generations to fix that damage. And I want to know, where did it come from? Why now has it been picked up the heat? And also, there has been a lot of the culture wars.
I can tell you exactly how that started and how we got here. If you don't mind me going on a bit of an autism rant here, I actually know how that started.
It's fine.
Hey,
I was diagnosed autism, so that's fine. I don't know.
Can I poke in real quick?
Sure.
The issue is that you're talking about like the woke right and the regular right and the far left, and then saying if they can approach it from an apolitical angle. Each of those positions are inherently some sort of political angle.
I am a right winger, and I know how to. I am a right winger, and I know how to write an apolitical game.
Me too.
Okay.
You're talking about specifically that. Okay, I thought you were talking about the positions. Okay.
No. Okay. I'm talking about. But with the culture war thing, like I said, it's an autism rant, but I'll try to keep it short and simple.
No, it's fine.
Basically, you have to go back to the civil rights movement from the 60s.
Okay.
Because that started a bunch of bullshit. That started the flower power movement and all that crap throughout the 60s and the 70s, which was a proto-woke movement. It is like the prototype for what we're dealing with right now. It was a communist sort of race-fueled...
the thing with civil rights...
It was like...
Sorry,
there was a... Yeah.
The thing with civil rights is the fact that I'm pretty sure they had a good cause because they wanted to end segregation and stuff. The problem is, I think they took it too far, which is where you're going to come in.
There were some that... Here's the thing. A lot of the main players in the civil rights movement didn't just want to end segregation, and they didn't just want to do that. They wanted to push communism. We got the ending of segregation and whatnot out of it because it also happened during the Red Scare, which makes it a lot harder to push communism for what we're dealing with right now.
All right, yeah.
I really hope you enjoyed that debate, and the fact that you stuck around to the end means you did. And that means you should also like, comment, and subscribe, and come join the Discord server so you can come and be in one of these debates yourself. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Goodbye.